So I just wanted to cover this debate between this guy who's pro-abortion and the Breakfast Club. We already know the Breakfast Club is full of people who are in line with the Luciferian agenda. They just are. They're aligned with the left. They're aligned with the liberalism. So they're gonna be pro-abortion. They're gonna be pro-transgender. They're gonna be pro-homosexual. That just is what it is. Sometimes I don't like to cover these things because it just really speaks to my disdain for this world. Sometimes I try to avoid the things that I hate so much. I've covered these things before, but sometimes, you get to this point where it's like, this shit is so annoying and it's so disdainful to the point where you don't even want to be a witness to it. You don't even want to have anything to do with it. I try to keep a safe haven for, what makes me comfortable and what makes me grounded, and I just try to be as pure as possible. I try to create a safe haven that's based in righteousness as much as possible. And sometimes when you come across these things, it speaks to that disdain that you have for this world. It's like you have this disposition in this world, and these things are the reason for your disposition when it comes to certain people who are just idiots and don't really understand life, and you know, they're with the whole abortion thing, they're with transgenderism, they're with all these Luciferian ideologies. So that's what gives me this disdain for the world, because that's the majority. That's just the majority. Just is what it is. But I just wanted to go into this because there's some good points made, especially on the side of the guy that's pro-life. He's making a lot of sense, and you have like this female here that's talking nonsensical, even though she thinks that she's smarter than what she is. Not to say that the woman is dumb, but you could tell that she's simple-minded, and that's just the natural element of the woman. They're simple-minded creatures. They look at things two-dimensionally for the most part. Just is what it is. So I just wanted to get into this for a few.
Abortions, right?
I'm pro-life, yes.
Even in cases of incest and rape?
Yes.
Why?
Because this is a sort of a fundamental definitional question. If you believe life begins at conception, then regardless of the source of the life, it now has an independent interest in life. So that is not to minimize the tremendous evil of rape or incest. I believe rapists should be executed, frankly, or chemically castrated at best. But that's sort of a different question from the independent source of life, and whether this, again, it gets back to definitions. And this conversation tends to be either you're on one side of that or the other. If you don't believe life begins at conception, then obviously you believe abortion is acceptable in a wide variety of circumstances. If you believe it's an independent life deserving of protection, then you believe it's an independent life deserving of protection.
Lauren, what do you think about that? I'm just as a woman.
I think that a woman should be able to choose to do what she wants to do wherever she decides to do it. I believe that women should be able to abort babies if they want to, if they feel like that's what they need to do.
Do you have a time limit on that, out of curiosity?
I mean, I think it should happen earlier on if it were me making a decision for myself, but I think it's up to the woman and what she's personally experiencing and what she personally went through. I really think it's a per person thing. That's why I think it's crazy when you have like these structures and these like people who are not in that situation making the decision for the woman of what you can and can't do, because it's very like per person.
Listen, in most cases, you have to think for the woman. We know that the woman is naturally illogical. We know that the woman is naturally emotional. So sometimes you have to be that buffer for her. That's just common sense. And that's something that a lot of men know. So what this woman is talking about is just complete nonsense. At the end of the day, you have to have certain people that's more logical than the woman think for her, because she thinks on emotion. She's capricious. She just is. I don't care how smart, intelligent she may come off as. Females are driven by emotions. That's why when it comes to big decisions, it should be someone that's of more logic. Pretty much a man, just being real, not being no feminist. Not being, what's the word? Misogynist and none of that nonsense. I'm just being real. Females, sometimes they're illogical. And, naturally that can be something that permeates them to the point where you have to have somebody think for them. This is why these females who say that they're pro-abortion, those people shouldn't be taken seriously. And it's a thinly veiled way of committing sacrifice to Molech, because it's based in child sacrifice when you kill a fetus. It is a fetus. A fetus is a life. When you conceive, that's the start of life. It just is what it is. You people want to justify why you kill your babies because you want to feel good about doing it, as opposed to understanding that, there's consequences for what you do, especially in the afterlife, especially during Judgment Day. But you people don't believe in God, so it makes it more easy for you to do it. Just ridiculous.
It's crazy when you have like these structures and these like people who are not in that situation making the decision for the woman of what you can and can't do, because it's very like per person. My situation might be different than another woman who's sitting next to me.
Right. So again, this is sort of the definitional issue that we're talking about, because you're talking about what a woman should be allowed to do. And what I'm talking about is the definition of personhood of the separate person inside the woman. I think that what I'd push on is why do you personally believe that a woman should have an abortion earlier?
I think from personal experience, I've been in a situation. I just think emotionally and mentally, it's less that you think about, but it does depend on how you think of when the life is formed or should be looked at as like a life that you
right. So
maybe,
that
yeah.
I think is the big question, and that's where the disconnect is.
But what I'm saying is that's always going to be different for each person.
But I don't think that the subjective definition of life is how we define life, meaning that you being uncomfortable with a woman having an abortion in the 9th month, you're saying that just because you're uncomfortable with it, that doesn't mean that you should stop a woman from doing that. My point is that life has a definition, right? We all agree, for example, that a 1-month-old baby should not be drowned. Right? We all agree on that. And that's not up to the personal, should not be drowned. You shouldn't take the baby and drown in a bathtub, right? And the question is, well, why? Because we now understand that the 1-month-old baby, everyone agrees with this, right? That except for Peter Singer at Princeton, that a 1-month-old baby has an independent interest in life, right? That is a life that is separate from the woman and requires protection. Okay, so if it is a life, then we now have an objective definition. Doesn't matter what the state of mind of the woman is. Doesn't matter if she thought, you know what, I have a really tough life. My life will be better off if this baby is drowned, if I don't have to deal with this baby, and so I'm going to drown the baby. The baby has an independent actual interest in living. And so the question becomes, is that true before birth? And I think for the vast majority of Americans are actually somewhere where you are practically, meaning that the vast majority of Americans do see in sort of a soft way a distinction between, the early stages of life, month 2 and 9 month, right? Like the approval in America of abortion at the very late stages is very, very low because most Americans.
It stops around like 4 or 5 months for most people, right?
Well,
like, most places.
Most abortions are performed in the first trimester.
Yeah.
Yes. But the point that I'm making is that the logic that you're using allows for abortion like literally right before the baby is born. So then the question becomes, why is that okay? And it's not a woman's choice at that point whether that is a life or not, because you don't get to artificially or subjectively define the meaning of things.
That. We're playing with semantics, though. But
yeah, that's what
It's not semantics. And at the end of the day, you have to specify things. It's not semantics. You only want it to be semantics because you want to push your point that, a baby's life starts in the 2nd trimester or the 4th month or all that nonsense. No, when you have sex and you conceive, that right there is the start of it. Especially when a woman finds out that she's pregnant, she takes the test and all that. That right there is the start of life inside the womb. It's not no process where, you have to go through all this shit. No. You have sex. There's a baby that forms based off of the sperm going from the man to the woman. You ejaculate inside her. She conceives. She gestates the seed. A seed is still a life. She gestates it. And it grows, so on and so forth. That's what happens when it comes to, the process with the egg and the fetus, so on and so forth. It's a life. It's a life. And we got to stop this confusion, man. When a woman gets pregnant, a life starts in her immediately. There's no, let's wait 2 weeks or 3 weeks. People they want to feel comfortable about it because to them, life is a baby being fully formed, and when the baby gets out, that's life. No, life starts in the womb.
Not a life, right?
If your daughter was raped,
No,
it's almost like you're saying she's raped, but I'm gonna make her have this child.
No,
because you're saying you don't believe in abortion, even if rape and incest, right?
What I'm saying there is that I don't believe in abortion in cases of rape and incest. The practical effect is horrible. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to pretend that it is not emotionally horrible.
Yo, these people are like severely simple-minded. Like first he says that the guy is going off of semantics, and I'm thinking that DJ Envy's argument is the difference between, when you conceive and the timeline of it and how they perceive that as life. This dude is just talking about, hey, well, you said you don't believe in abortion, but you believe in it I mean, you don't believe in abortion even if it's incest. It's like, what are we talking about here? What type of excuse you making now? I'm thinking that he's going to challenge him on the definition of when life starts. This dude is talking about, oh, well, you know what? Let me just change the argument. Let me just get off of that subject because I can't challenge him on that. Let me just say that, oh, him saying that he believe in no abortion, even though it was from incest. It's like, what are you doing here? What are you doing here? You trying to make that excuse now? At the end of the day, life is life. No matter how it came, it's not that person's, it's not the baby's fault that the baby was formed from incest or born from incest. And at the end of the day, you know, some people, they'll justify it and say, oh, well, you know, it's easy for me to make that decision of abortion because this is an ancestral baby. It's sad that you even gotta like make that excuse, even though it's not cases like that happen all the time. So why is that even an argument? The incest argument. They just using that argument because they know they have no fucking legs to stand on when it comes to the understanding of what abortion is. Abortion is killing a life. You're taking a life. I don't care what nobody says. And the reason why they push abortion, remember, because we live in this Luciferian society. So they push it hard because it's based in child sacrifice. That's what it's based in. It's based in the god Molech. They worship these pagan gods. So of course they're going to be pro-abortion because it's based in the pagan understanding of child sacrifice. You're killing a child. You're killing a baby. You're killing a fetus. It is a life inside of you. It just is. These people, it's like asking them, what's 2 + 2? And they'll fucking say 6 or some shit. It's crazy, man.
There is that I don't believe in abortion in cases of rape and incest. The practical effect is horrible. Okay, I'm not going to pretend that it is not emotionally horrifying, that particular situation. The question is whether it has an independent interest in life or not, and whether there's a third party involved. If you don't believe there's a third party deserving of protection, I totally get it. I get it. But we should understand that that's the actual conversation. The actual conversation is about whether you believe that this is an interested third party being. Do you get to kill that interested third party being, this human life with potential, or do you not? If you, and so the actual argument that I don't like is the idea that you can, that everybody, it's up to every single person to define when life begins and when life does not begin. That actually is not true, right? There's either a standard or there's not a standard. Now you can say that life begins when the baby is independent of the mom. Okay? I think it's a very dicey biological argument, and I think most Americans agree with that life only begins when the baby exits.
I think it begins with a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think that's where most Americans are, and that's
Yes.
extremely early, right? And so if that's extremely, if the life begins with a heartbeat, then you're now talking about, depending on your definition of a heartbeat, somewhere between 6 and 10 weeks, right? Very, very, very early. And so if that is now has an independent interest, you're talking about abortion restrictions very early on. And so that's why, a lot of red states have signed heartbeat laws, for example. Right? And so, again, I think that the clarity is good, right? Because now we can have a conversation. Where do you think life begins? And that's a better conversation than the sort of assumption by, I think, people who are not pro-life, that pro-life is just about controlling the woman's body. No, it isn't, okay? It really is not. Like, for pro-lifers, it has literally nothing to do with the woman's body. It has to do with the independent interest of the life inside the woman. And
These dudes, man, they so elementary when it comes to their understanding. And obviously, in most cases, these people choose to be elementary. They choose to be idiots because they are a part of something. They are a part of a certain agenda. So they have to be in alignment with these things that are contrary to what Ben is standing on. I'm sorry, the guy's name is Ben. I think it's Ben Carson or so. I don't know his last name, but it's just something I came across and I wanted to cover it. And I'm just now being aware that the guy's name is Ben.
And depending on your definition, it does control what a woman can and can't do with her body.
well, there are downstream effects to definitions, of course, right? I mean, if I define life as it begins at a heartbeat, then that is going to have public policy ramifications that affect, just as in anything else. If I define theft in a particular way, that's going to have downstream effects on people who commit that definition of the crime. And if I broaden the definition, it's going to include more people. And that's true for literally any legal term. It's true for any word that we use in life. As you expand the definition, it affects more people in different ways. But that doesn't change the necessity to have the conversation about what the definition is. And I think it's an easy way out to basically say, well, I have a definition of life, but, and it gets into very dicey territory because historically people have defined away entire populations as not human. And so we can't do that, right? Like you really don't want people looking at other people and saying, well, I don't think that this person, I mean, to take the obvious and most controversial example, for a huge percentage of American history, there was a wide variety of people in America who believed black people were not fully human, and therefore you couldn't enslave them.
Yep, Three-Fifths Compromise.
Correct. And so like so was that a subjective question? That was not a subjective question. Black people are fully human and just as human as white people, equal, the same, right? Like and so if somebody were to say, listen, I personally am anti-slavery, right? I think that slavery is personally wrong, but it's really up to every person to define for themselves whether a black person is fully a human or not fully a human. Be like, what the?
I don't think you can
like,
compare those two things.
Why?
Just because I think, you know, if I'm making, so if you're a slave master, right, and you say, I believe slavery is right because black people aren't human, like, that's a decision that you're making that is based on things like, you know, what the slaves can do for you on your property. Like the benefit of what slavery will do for that slave master is so different than if a woman has to have a baby because she was raped and how that will affect her life. Like that, I think you have a decision that you can make a lot easier.
It's almost like you force a woman twice, right? Because
yeah,
she
like,
says
do
no,
I become a slave master or not versus do I have a baby or not?
She has this baby and now she's forced to have
Let's
a
try a
child.
Jewish analogy. Go.
Sure. So I mean, sure. So if there was an entire population in Europe that was considered subhuman by the Nazis and they were exterminated, if you said, I am personally against the extermination of the Jews, but I understand why Germans could think that Jews are subhuman, and so it really is up to every individual to determine whether a Jew is human or not fully human and can be put in the back of a van and gassed. We'd be like, what in the world?
You're saying there should be no pro-choice in regards to that?
Yeah, so the definitions are not a matter of choice. Definitions are a matter of actual objective fact. Otherwise, we can't even have a conversation. Because if words have meanings, then we all have to agree on at least that, right? That much we have to.
And that right there is the big problem in this society, is the fact that people muddy the waters when it comes to words. People only want a word to mean what it means for them. It's like a lot of these people have a female approach to things. They just don't get it. That female approach is, well, you know, it can be this, but I want it to be this because I just want it to be that for it. You know, like that's how they think. I'm not women bashing or nothing like that. I'm just telling you the real, man. At the end of the day, that's just how it is. But we have to stick with the actualities and the unadulterated truth when it comes to these things, as opposed to what we want it to be. And, you know, when it comes to the whole slave thing, about 3/5 of a man, when it comes to slavery, it's not just talking about black people, because not all black people was in slavery. It wasn't just talking about black people. But we only get caught up in that because that's the narrative. That's what they want us to believe. That's the problem. You got to free your fucking mind and think on your own. Don't think based off of what the Breakfast Club is telling you, because they are a part of the overall agenda. They are the enemy. You know, syndicates and things like that when it comes to the upper levels of society, radio stations, and what they're aligned with, what you hear them say, their allegiances, certain things that they push. You can tell that those people are the enemy. Those entities are the enemy. They are on the upper levels, even though you have certain substratas of what you agree with when it comes to conservatism. At the end of the day, we stick with the Most High. We stick with what it is when it comes to righteousness and what's real, what's good for us. If a woman gets raped and she becomes pregnant, at the end of the day, she should have that baby, because, you know, it's not about her anymore. Even though it's inside of her, but it's not about her, because it's a life. It's a life. It's not about pro-choice when it comes to that. It's about what it is. But they push this whole pro-choice thing because, like I said, deep down inside, it's basically in veneration of the pagan god known as Molech, because it's based in child sacrifice. These women that's pro-life, they may not understand that, but that's what it is. It's just that the woman is proverbial Eve, so she's gonna get down with the program. She don't know this shit. She don't know that what she's doing is sinful. She don't get it.
You know, so the slave master analogy, the point that I'm making here is not about the personal experience of the slave master. In fact, I'm saying it's completely irrelevant. What I'm saying is that the reason that slavery was wrong is because black people are fully independent human beings who require the protection of the law in the same way as everyone else. And if you're a pro-lifer, you believe that's also true of the unborn.
Okay, I understand what you're saying. I'm a pro-choice person, but I do wonder, how come pro-life people aren't anti-war?
Well, I mean,
Because if-
I think everybody is anti-war. I think the question is the definition of when war is appropriate.
You see what they do? Like DJ Envy talks about semantics. This is what Charlemagne is doing. When we say pro-life, we're talking about something specific, something that's connected with the concept of abortion. We're not talking about pro-life in general, because we understand that there's reasons for people to get killed. But when we talk about pro-life, we're talking about an innocent fetus. We're talking about innocent babies. Stop muddying the waters. Stop that, bro. Oh, you people talk about being pro-life, but why aren't you anti-war? Like, what are you talking about? If you believe in God, then you know that it's a time to kill. You could be pro-life and still, advocate for war because you understand that certain things are justified, my guy. What are you talking about? You see what they do, man? That's some real devilish, like real deceptive type of shit. You're trying to like make it seem as if, the people that's pro-life, you're a hypocrite because you still condone war. Like, come on, stop, bro. Stop that nonsense, bro. You know what you're doing. That's what they so cunning with that type of nonsense they do. At the end of the day, bro, when we say we're pro-life, we know that we're talking something specific, because pro-life is a term that's associated with the concept of abortion. Even though we know that pro means like I'm for this, I'm for life. That doesn't mean that I'm not against somebody getting killed if it's justified. There's a time to kill. Come on, man.
But I do wonder, how come pro-life people aren't anti-war?
Well, I mean,
Because if
I think everybody is anti-war. I think the question is the definition of when war is appropriate. I don't think, who's running around going like, war is awesome. Yes, more war.
Okay,
Let's do it.
So 50,000 kids have been killed in Gaza because of this current war.
Depends on the definitions
Well,
and
killed
the
and
list that you're
injured,
getting.
right?
Well, I mean, also depends on how you're defining kid, because the way that Hamas defines kid is very different than how they define kid when it comes to recruiting for Hamas, right? They're 15-year-olds with AKs on the battlefield, unfortunately.
Out of the womb.
It is not 50,000
Well,
out of the womb.
okay.
I mean, if you're talking about like very, very small children, it is much, much lower than
But
that.
my point is, there are children that are being killed.
Yes, who have died as collateral damage in the war, yes.
So shouldn't pro-lifers be totally against that?
Well, I mean, I'm against the death of any innocent human being. The question is, when you're doing foreign policy, how you prevent more deaths in the future. And the point that I think Israel is making is this war
So you're
was
basing it off legislation, and it's actually not a matter of morals and values. Or
No,
religion.
of course, it's a matter of morals and values. But you can't be. Let's put it this way: it's incredibly reductive to simply say that if you are a moral person, then you oppose all war, because what that does, it allows immoral people to then use that against you to destroy your civilization. If your community is attacked and bad people who don't have the same values as you decide to kill you, kill your children, rape your wife, and kill her, are you supposed to say, well, I'm anti-war, and so I'm going to sit here and do nothing?
So isn't that the same if somebody rapes a woman and impregnates them? Shouldn't, in that case, that person be allowed to make a choice?
Well, no. The point is that the prevention. This is why you should minimize civilian casualties. To get back to the beginning of the conversation, this is why it's independently moral to try as much as possible to minimize civilian casualties. Right? When it comes to abortion, the idea is you can minimize that casualty by just preventing it.
How can you
Right.
prevent being raped?
Well, I mean that's a different question. Again,
But let's talk about that, because what I don't like is people
is
pick.
That's an act of war,
listen.
by
First,
the way.
first of all, when we're talking about rape and abortion, we should note that well over 99% of abortions are not undertaken because of rape. And so, if you want to come with me and ban all abortions except for rape, I'll probably make that trade for you. Meaning, if you want to ban all abortions, elective abortions, and what I have to do is give up abortion with regard to rape and incest, that is a trade on a pragmatic level politically that I would make.
Okay, so you're not down on that hill. Like, you
Well,
back-
it's not that I mean, I believe that, again, rape and incest, I think, is the reason people choose that argument is because it's the hardest argument to make emotionally from the pro-life side. But I think that we should note that the vast majority of abortions have nothing to do with rape or incest. They
never
have
had
to
the
do with
wrong
elective
person pregnant,
abortions.
man?
Was that?
You never got the wrong person pregnant?
Jesus.
No, my wife 4
Obviously.
times, thank God.
Oh.
Man, shout out to this guy, Ben Shapiro. I'm sorry, I said Ben Carson. But shout out to this guy, Ben Shapiro, man, because he was real laid back and casual and articulate, and he just pretty much made 3 of these idiots look like what they are, which are fucking idiots. And this girl gonna ask this dumbass question like, oh, well, so that means that, you're not dying on that hill of being one of the few people that actually agree that you should still have an abortion even though you were raped. It's like, that's not even a thing that's associated with abortion for the most part. You don't even see cases like that where a woman was raped, she got pregnant, and she got an abortion. You see that, like, it's rare. Obviously, it's a thing, but it's not bigger than women who just choose to abort their fetuses after they chose to consensually have sex with they open their legs and they want to be sluts. Like, stop trying to make it seem like the majority of abortions come from rape and incest. It's like, stop that nonsense. Where did this even come from? This is like some new shit. And stop saying that you're pro-choice. You're pro-abortion. Because when you say you're pro-choice, what does that mean? That means that you're pro-abortion. You're pro-babies being killed. That's what you are. That's what you are for. So stop trying to muddy the waters with shit. That's why I can't stand liberals. I can't stand these people in this fucking world, because the majority of people are liberals. The majority of people have the same mindset that these people have on the Breakfast Club. Liberal mindset. Do what thou wilt mindset. No restrictions, no order, no righteousness, no pragmatism. Just simple, do what you want to do. Fucking clown world. This is why I can't wait to get up out of here, man. Shalom to you, brothers and sisters. God bless you all. Thank you.